To Let's Talk. My name is James, and I started this show talking about the murder of Samantha Woll. I will continue to do so every weekday to help keep her story in the media and from to help it keep this investigation from being forgotten about. Now, myself, I have a legal background that and dealt with many investigations that gives me a unique view of things about a case that others may not see. So it gives me a unique insight. So here are my here's the case. Here's a summary of what happened. Samantha Woll, a 40-year-old single woman from Detroit, was brutally stabbed to death at her residence at 6:30 a.m. Saturday, October 21st, 2023. A neighbor called 911 to report a body laying on the sidewalk on the 1300 block of Juliet Place in the Lafayette Park area of Detroit. Police arrived and determined the woman was stabbed to death from multiple stab wounds, and a trail of blood led from the location of the body to the inside of her residence, where police determined the murder had taken place. They had also stated that the victim had died, was dead for some time, so they believe it was early when she returned, and I'll get to that in a moment. The victim had then stumbled from out inside the house and outside, and fell to the ground where she was found. There was no sign of forced entry, and police immediately ruled out a hate crime motive. And in doing so, it means they had evidence that directly leads to a different motive. They have not released what that evidence is, and Police Chief White said they are keeping it very, very careful about what is released to the media. Now, sources have said that there were no defensive wounds on Miss Wool. Uh, Samantha Wool was she was the board president of the Downtown Synagogue of Detroit and was very politically active. She recently served on multiple reelection campaigns for Michigan uh, politicians, Democratic politicians. And with the state of what is going on with Israel and Palestine, uh, that was the first thing they looked at was a hate crime motive, and I believe they are correct in following that line of investigation. Now, on Wednesday, November 8th, police made an arrest of a male subject who had reportedly knew Miss Wool and attended her funeral. They arrested the subject or detained him in Kalamazoo and arrested him en route to being transported to Detroit. And at that time, the suspect refrained from answering any more questions and requested an attorney. On Friday, November 10th, the police had to release the subject because they could not charge him. And they have not released his name either. They arrested him for some reason. We are not privy to that information, but they were confident in their arrest. Uh, it, they have been following the suspect for quite some time, and when they made the arrest, they were confident in the arrest, and because they were following him, they didn't expect to lose him or him to flee because they already had been following him. So that was not a reason. So, what the reason is, I am not quite sure. Crime Stoppers has issued a $15,000 reward for tips leading to an arrest. So, it is assumed the detectives are following a domestic violence type motive. Um, the things to note, her cell phone and wallet were present, so it wasn't a robbery. There was no forced entry, and there was no defensive wounds on the victim. Um, so that leads me to believe that it was a person that she trusted and didn't have her guard up. Now, the police chief made or had a press conference, not a press conference, but a meeting, a hearing with the police commissioners last week, and he was questioned in regards to Dr. Horton, who was a Detroit doctor that was murdered earlier this year and still has not been solved, and also questioned about Samantha Woll. And he was very flippant about his answers in regards to Dr. Horton. And in regards to Samantha Wool, the question posed to him uh, was the commissioner, I forget who it was, but he had asked Police Commissioner White, "Do you still believe uh, this was not a hate crime motive?" And his response was, "At this time, the evidence shows that it was not." So, what exactly that evidence was, they're not saying. Now, a couple of days ago, there was a meeting, and the Detroit News made an article about Detroit was on pace for the fewest homicides since 1966, and officials credit this program that they've created with the results. And I'm going to read a little bit of the article and nitpick it each part that I want to talk about. It says Detroit. The city is on pace to record its lowest number of homicides since 1966. City, county, and state officials said Monday as they attributed the decline to a program they started 2 years ago to clear Wayne County's backlog court docket. Through November 30th, there were 228 criminal homicides in Detroit since January 1st of 2023. That's an 18% drop from the 278 killings during the same period in 2022. According to the numbers released during the press conference at Wayne County's downtown Detroit office. And if that pace continues, Detroit officials said the city would end 2023 with the fewest homicides of any year in 1966. Now, uh, the way they figure the numbers, and yeah, there was a decrease in the numbers, but it goes on to talk about, and this all came about because Chicago had reported a double-digit decline in their homicides. So Detroit had to get in with the mix and couldn't miss out on the benefits that they tote is this program. And it said in Philadelphia, it reported homicides were down 19% since the same period in 2022. But it also said 40% of the police departments nationwide no longer provide the crime statistic. So it's and well, it goes on to say um, that the Wayne County executive Warren Evans was present at this with Police Chief White, as well as the Detroit mayor and other Wayne County sheriffs. Now, Evans, he was the previous police chief of Detroit, and was also Wayne County sheriff. Now he was stated, and these are his words, quote unquote. Let me. Um, COVID highlighted what we know. We had some systems that were overworked and needed to be fixed, but most systems don't get fixed because there are too many layers of government involved. So we all sat down and figured out it's not just catching bad guys. We can overlook the fact that the dockets are crunched and not realize that has an impact on safety in the streets. Now, and unquote, those were his words. Now, when he says, um, we can't overlook the fact that the dockets are crunched and not realize that has an impact on the safety in the streets, and referring to that it was overworked and needed to be fixed. He's referring to, we can't just not just catching the bad guys, meaning their solve rate is dismal, and they're patting themselves on the back, saying, "See, look what we did. We had this program where it had specific sentencing for gun uh, crimes." And they're toting themselves on the back for this, yet and they're playing politics, and it pisses me off is what it is. Uh, they are showing this bright light in their work, yet their solving and clearing rate for homicides is subpar. And in my opinion, those detectives need to be put on notice. You better start clearing cases or find another job. Uh, it's there's just with the technology today, the forensics available, there should be no reason a homicide goes unsolved. Somebody knows something. So that's my rant. I didn't go off as much as I wanted to, but yeah, this police chief White, um, he's just a political figure. Um, and yeah, this Evans character, same thing. They're just political junkies and looking to get some limelight and pretty news about themselves. Yet they're ignoring the fact that Samantha Woll's murder is going unsolved, along with numerous others. Um, and maybe I'll see if I can find that clip with the way Police Chief White responded towards that one question. He made a flippant statement about, well, I told them we'd have it solved or an update by the first snow. Well, and didn't have an update since then, and it snowed earlier, I think in October, and he made some statement saying, "Well, this is Michigan; it could snow in May," and he was just unprofessional, to say the least. And it's just my own opinion, but anyways, thank you for coming. I appreciate you listening to this and watching this show. Uh, if you can, please share this out with your friends. Share it on your platforms. Let's not let Samantha Wool's murder go forgotten, be forgotten. Until tomorrow, have a pleasant evening and good night.